Okay, so today let's talk ARES Inferno. So disclaimer, like yesterday's video about the Ion. Again, this is still working on the PTU. This is mostly just initial thoughts and discussion on the nature of the fighter, how it's going to work in relation to all the other things, where this platform might go in the future, and just some basic overall thoughts of how the fighter's performing now, what I like, what I dislike, and I guess what we expect to see. But as you can see, like yesterday's video, the ARES Inferno has the big ballistic cannon. So you'll see here, I actually get quite a decent burst against Zen here in the Ion. But again, right, with that really small, like not small, with that really low velocity projectile speed, again, I overshoot like crazy here because I just have such a ridiculous main thruster, which again is a bug affecting all the ARES starfighters, giving them 40 g-forces of acceleration on this main thruster, which is ludicrous territory. But we still can have relatively interesting dogfights even with that. Again, another long burst here, but as soon as he makes any calculated movement whatsoever, the shot gets pulled right off, and I've got to swing around again to try and get back to targeting. But turn rate on the ARES starfighters, again, like a school bus with flat tires. It's not turning great, and you can argue, it is a heavy fighter, designed to take on big stuff. Does the turn rate it have right now equal a turn rate capable of killing large ships like Idrises and Constellations? And that's a resounding yes. I mean, obviously you have a turn rate that's capable of doing that. But again, I always come from the point of view of like, what's this thing designed to do? And how does this thing give a special, like, what's its special thing, right? Because from my point of view, the Eclipse stealth bomber takes one pilot, is, even though not designed for combat, the Eclipse is a far superior platform for dogfighting, which means even if engaged, the Eclipse has at least an opportunity to defend itself, whereas the ARES starfighter, I find, is truly a fish out of water. And until CIG addresses the abysmally low projectile speeds and absolutely atrocious turn rates and jerk profile. Jerk meaning the tightness or the sloppiness of the nose. If you'll watch closely, then watch closely on how much the target indicator is kind of swaying back and forth against my target here. Again, I get a really good burst on him right here. Actually did really good there on that turn. But again, right, it's sometimes it's like watching paint dry when it comes to fighting these ships against each other. Both guys are having such a hugely difficult time getting on target because it's just like, the ship feels so heavy, like so heavy. It feels like a drunk Constellation had a love affair with a buccaneer. So it's just horrible. So eventually the chip damage gets through and I'm able to kill him here. But it's really something, right? So I decided to go against a Gladius to see, okay, let's see what we can do here. I mean, your main defense against any kind of attack are your 2 size 2 shields. I mean, for being a fighter, having 2 size 2 shields is a serious amount of shielding. So Sig might be trying to get into the mindset of, look, if you're being attacked by a gang of light fighters or even one light fighter, it's not a question of if it's going to kill the ARES, it's just a question of when. Now, there's a glitch right now with, again, as you can see here, 40 g-forces of acceleration. So it's going to make it very, very, very difficult for people to get an accurate idea of how well this ship is doing with 40 Gs of acceleration on its main thruster. But when that gets patched out, the Gladius is going to be easily able to stay on target and be able to just abuse the ARES starfighter. which asks the question of, okay, if you've got a platform like this, it basically has to be babysitted. You basically have to babysit your heavy bombers, which makes sense, but I feel like the category of heavy fighter maybe is the wrong category to talk about this ship being in, because it definitely doesn't feel like a heavy fighter. It feels like a bomber with guns. It's closer to a gunship than it is a fighter. So that just might be my OCD going a little crazy when it comes to classifying the ship. But regardless of what the ship's called on the digital website, the fact of the matter is the ship is performing where I figured it would perform. When it comes to fighting light fighters, you're pretty much fucked. Again, I'm able to win this fight and the previous fight just because the 40 G-forces of acceleration allow me to disengage basically at free will whenever I feel like it. And again, the flight model is still developing. There's still some things that need to be changed. The really ridiculously high speeds are going to be addressed later on. But I mean, if I didn't have the ability to disengage with this ship, like I just did, I wouldn't stand a chance in hell at being able to defend myself. So just keep that in mind. Again, this really isn't a combat test for this ship. All the ARES starfighters feel very sluggish. They feel very cumbersome. The nose feels like it weighs an absolute metric ton. So hitting stuff with this thing is definitely going to be a task for the skilled. And when I say hitting stuff, I'm talking like light medium fighters. I mean, hitting a constellation with this thing wouldn't really be that difficult. So I think if you're taking this thing out to kill stuff like retaliators, constellations, and larger vessels, yeah, you could argue that it's designed to do its purpose. However, like I said before, I just like, why would you take this thing and have to babysit everywhere it went when you could take an Eclipse that doesn't really have to get babysitted as much as this thing, and it's also got the added benefit of being stealth, so it can disguise itself, it can stay at longer range and wait for an opportunity, and it's got size 9 torpedoes that can literally one-shot hammerheads, and I've one-shot retaliators as well with those torpedoes. So it just requires a skilled pilot in an Eclipse to be able to actually apply that damage. But yeah, it's interesting, right? So again, right, this is just initial thoughts on the ship, guys. What do you think? I think the ballistic gun with its spool up time, I don't really think this spool up time on these ships needs to be here. Honestly, like, just give me full rate of fire as soon as I pull the trigger. This spool up time stuff, it's not realistic. It's not, obviously in real life with A-10 Warthogs and anything like that, there's no spool up time on these guns. Either give me full rate of fire when I pull the trigger, or give me a different gun. Like this weird spool up time to make it, to make it less effective against fighters and stuff is just silly to me. And having such low velocity, again, I come from a standpoint of that every ship's got to be able to defend itself, and even if it had 1400 meter per second guns, this thing still would be at such a ridiculous disadvantage against light and medium fighters. But I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about the ship? Aesthetically, I think the ship looks beautiful, but again, right? Boy, oh boy, does this thing fly like a drunk pig. It's like a less fit version of a Buccaneer. I never thought it would be possible, but here we have it. In 2021 we have the ARES Inferno, right? So overall, I think the ship's capable at killing the larger targets that it's advertised to kill. But if you don't have a light fighter screen to protect this thing, say goodbye, man, because an Aurora could roll up on this thing and eat it for lunch. And once its 40 Gs of acceleration get fixed, you'll be seeing that happen quite often, right? So excited to play with this thing some more and kind of get a better feel for it. I'm excited to see where the tuning goes from here. But again, this is just mostly initial thoughts. and to show you guys what it kind of looks and feels like, because it's brand new and it's give the people what they want, right? So thank you so much, guys, for watching. I hope you guys were entertained today. I hope to see all of you up for stream. I was Avenger1, and I'll see you next time.